Welcome to Ngozi Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Find your own voice. Lead from within. Welcome to Ngozi Talk Shows. Over to you, Amanda. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Good morning from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I am a teacher, an author, and an illustrator, and my job is to help inspire people to find their own unique creative capacity within themselves. It's bright and early in Calgary, and I'm happy to be here. Good afternoon to you in the UK.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Over to you, Carol Ann. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hey, good afternoon from London, UK. And yes, as the writing facilitator, what I do is I support soul-driven entrepreneurs in becoming more productive with their writing by connecting them with their deeper innate ability to write. But more importantly, they experience free-flowing writing. They experience an unlocking of the writer within and getting their book written, getting their story written, because you cannot publish what isn't written. And all of this has come about through my own journey of unlocking the writer within.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carol Ann. So our topic today is how to get over imposter syndrome. And Carol Ann, I'm going to hand it over to you. I think we are all guilty of imposter syndrome somehow. Please explain the topic and why basically you chose this topic.
It's a phrase that I keep hearing. It's a phrase that I actually hate. I'm thinking, it's a label. But actually, it's something that I can really identify with when they started talking about what it is. Because from my journey from being a maths teacher and somebody who enjoys maths, loves maths, and absolutely hated writing and used to find it such a nightmare, to someone who is now calling herself the writing facilitator, helping people unlock that writer within, I went through a period of, who am I? Can I really be telling people this is what I do? And it took me quite a while to sort of realize, yes, I can. Because of my experience, because of what I've learnt along the way, and because of the support that I have been giving other people and the results that they've achieved through it. And so it sort of helped me to feel a bit more comfortable about saying, okay, yes, I do this, I am doing this is what I can do. But I still think there's an element of self-doubt in there. So I think I hadn't actually heard the term imposter syndrome up until that point, and then I keep hearing it all over the place, and it seems to be something that, hang on, and it's a label, and I'd like to explore beneath the label, because I think there's always something deeper than the label. It's like, it's just, you give a label, it makes it okay, and you just go, all right, and you don't do anything about it. And for me, that doesn't work. Yes, identify, this is what it is, but go deeper. Because each of us have our own reasons for having this experience. and for others it can be stronger than than for others. For some people it lasts just a short while. Some people it keeps coming back again and again and again. And I think that depends on whether you actually deal with the root cause that's actually causing it in the first place, like everything that we keep talking about. So so that's why I thought it'd be a great topic to explore, and to for the people, to help them identify what part of imposter syndrome they're perhaps dealing with, or maybe recognize that what they're dealing with is actually imposter syndrome. And sometimes just being able to give it a label does make it feel less scary. But don't sit with holding on to the label, then dive into it. Yeah. So Amanda, what are your thoughts?
I think sometimes a lot of people feel that way, especially when they're like embarking on a new adventure or a new passion, because sometimes you don't feel like you're actually like have the right to feel like say, yes, I'm an author, I'm an illustrator, or I'm a social influencer or a designer or any of those things, until people feel like until I achieve this goal, I can't give myself that label. And I think sometimes even myself, I struggle with that, because I've written and illustrated 8 children's books, but I self-published them all. So sometimes I have trouble being like, well, I'm an author. I am, but I didn't publish them through the traditional routes because I wanted control over them. But I also wish that I was a social influencer, because then I'd have a better outreach into getting my message across, and had time to learn about different avenues for advertising, because as an author, that is something that is really difficult to learn how to do. Writing the book is the easy part. It's the marketing and getting your message out there that seems to be the more difficult part, especially with how much is out there right now. But I definitely do sometimes feel like when I say like, well, I'm an author, well, I am, but not in the traditional way. Or I am an artist. I think everybody can be their own inner artist. Do I sell my art? I sell some on Etsy, but I do my art because I love it. And and because I love to paint. I like the painting behind me is something that my daughter and I painted together. And I think sometimes that people judge themselves because they're looking for something exterior to be able to call themselves what it is that they're aiming for. And so you were saying with your writing facilitating that you had some, especially when you first started, some like self-doubt and are you being an imposter? But if you're helping people and you're working towards your goal, I don't think that is being an imposter. I think that's like taking the first step in your journey to your goal and to your passion. And I think that's, I felt the same way when I first started writing and illustrating my own books, that was I good enough to be able to do this, and was it going to help anybody, and those sort of things, and how do I get my message out there? And if it doesn't reach a global scale, am I an imposter? I think that's something that then you're looking for outside validation for something that really should be inside validation. Sometimes I think this imposter syndrome definitely is something that people are looking for outside. When people are looking for outside approval, or that they're getting into those negative thought patterns for that. But I could be wrong. Those are just my thoughts. What do you think, Nomza?
With you, Amanda and Carol Ann, basically when you talk about sometimes we struggle to give ourselves credit for what we do in life, and we look for validation from other people. And Carol Ann, you touch about you have to look at the cause of the roots of the problems if you feel that you have self-doubt in your life, in whatever you do in life. But at the same time, some people may bring, if we are looking for validation from people, people can bring a judgment against you. So for me, basically, what I used to think that people have to validate it, like how good I am. So I had a chat with one of the matchmaker that I met when we were doing the training. She does the talk show. She has a big following. Basically, that girl, I think, 500,000 or 1 million followers on YouTube. That basically on her talk show. So I asked her, how did she get to where she is now? She said, Nomsa, you have to be you. You cannot go online and pretend to be somebody else that you see on social media, and you have to speak your own truth. And she was like, everyone has their own truth in their heart. Everyone has a story, what they have gone through. So you have to speak your own truth, unapologetic. So she actually made an example with Martin Luther and other people, and she was like, those people, they stood for what they believe in. They've never pretended to be something else. So she was like, you have to be that. And she was like, when you come to my talk show, I just do what I do, and there's some people who don't agree with me, but they follow me anyway. They comment, they follow me anyway, and I'm glad they are there. So that's what she was saying, that you have to believe in what you do. You have to believe. And even though I believed in myself with the other things when I started my business, but I had the self-doubt as well, like what Carol Ann is saying, that you have to look into the root of the self-doubt, where it's coming from. And for me, it was like, it was like when I was looking for a coach, and the coaches would be like telling me that sometimes just because I need to find a black audience, sometimes it's just because I'm black, people will not take me serious. So I couldn't agree with that statement, that you want to coach me, you want to be my coach, but you're telling me that as a black person, so I need to be white for people to take me serious. So that's when I realized that actually I need to believe in myself, not people validating to what I do. And for me, basically, color doesn't define who I am as a person. I know I'm a black person, but it doesn't define me. For my brothers and sisters who are white, put one mind together. If you link that mind, you come up with a brilliant idea. You come up with amazing, amazing stories and amazing things that you can teach people. So that is the mind that I decided that I'm going to walk this path, working with mixing my audience, because the idea was people were telling me that I need to serve black people, even with my matchmaking introduction agents. So I was like, I don't agree with that. If I'm going to work, I'm going to have to serve a specific niche. I can serve black, African, Afro-Caribbean American if I wanted to focus on that. But if I want to focus on this, I can serve what I want to focus on. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I even contacted the agency, and this agency was like, the money is in the black market. I was like, these people are obsessed with the coaches were telling me black market. And I was like, everybody's obsessed with the people, but people buy products. If you have good products, people will buy it. So that's when I actually realized, actually, I don't need validation from people. I just need to walk this path. Along the way, people will disagree with me. It's fine. So that's when the mindset I had to have. And I was like, those who agree with me, they walk with me. But those who disagree with me, they won't walk with me. Even the audience, their audience, actually, I've had the audience that I've never had any audience that come and give us a negative opinion about what we do. I just have people saying, "I watch your talk show," or some people. There was a girl the other day. She was telling me that she clicked the talk show, our talk show. She is my friend. I've not seen her for years. She said, "I saw this talk show and then I clicked on it." She said, "No, so I cried when I was actually watching it." And I was like, and she was like, then I realized it's you that was talking. She sent me a message on Messenger. So I was like, yeah, that's what we do. And I was like, it's good to have a feedback. Even negative feedback is nice because it can help us grow. Over to you, Amanda or Carol Ann.
I really wanted to touch on what you were saying as you were talking about the coaches saying that you had to focus on a specific audience because of the color of your skin. That made me so sad because I work so hard as a teacher to try to like get kids to not like see color. like that doesn't matter. We are all people. The color of our skin doesn't matter. That I just can't believe that in this day and age that was the focus of the coaches. Like that really is kind of disturbing to me. And because especially in school, we talk so much about like inclusion and accepting everybody and seeing people through their strengths and helping people with their weaknesses, and color of skin isn't something that we really talk about anymore. And so the fact that these adults are still talking about that makes me sad as an elementary school teacher, because I think that looking at culture is very important, and looking at our past and understanding our past is important. But to be able to move forward as a human race rather than different races and ethnicities, I think we are all human, and that is what we need to focus on. And so I definitely empathize with you for feeling a little taken back by what those coaches were saying, and truly stepping into your own power as, no, I'm not going to listen to them. I'm going to follow what I know is true and accept everyone. And I think that is a message that the world needs to hear, is to stop putting people in boxes and to have empathy for others and to let people be who they are.
Absolutely. I was, when you felt this, I felt the same when you were saying that nonsense. Like, wow, did you really say that? Like,
oh yeah, the
wow.
agency. I approach them basically,
I
to do
guess you can just say,
marketing.
well, thank you, because it actually strengthened your own resolve and what you understood as your values. So in that respect, there is some way you can use it for, for good. But yeah, it was a bit, ooh, really? Did you say it, Amanda, in this day and age? But something that Maya Angelou said is, you may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. And I think that's a clear case of what you did there. Somebody said what they said, and it could have taken you down, but it didn't. You've actually grown in a different way from it, because of it. So that's really good. And something you were saying, Amanda, I chuckled inside, because for me, I'm going, oh, really? No. Writing the book is the easy part. And I think there may be others out there going, oh, what, really? Because no, it's not. But I get, for some people, it is the easy part. And yes, the marketing is a hard part of it. So
That's
again,
just because I write
your perception, isn't it?
They're only like 20 pages.
Sorry?
I said, that's just because I write children's books. They're only like 20 pages.
But even so, for some people, that still might be difficult to know how to put it or to what to write, or this is that question of making that decision. So the point here is it's all perception, isn't it? It's everybody has their own experience of it all. And something that was said about looking for outside approval, and I think that's something that we tend to get wired up with, especially at school or with family and parents. We're looking for that, that's good, that approval, that seal of approval, for want of a better phrase, that validates what you've done is good, is okay, is good, and it's right, it's perfect. But there's a lovely quote here by Bruce Watson: relentless criticism in childhood can internalize a parental scorn that no amount of success can silence. So it is the power that is wielded when we're younger, whether it be at school or whether it be at home. The authority figure, if there's constant criticism, it gets internalized. And it doesn't matter how much you succeed, you can't quite see that success because you've got that internal dialogue going on, and then it's like, well, it could be better. It could be better. And I know that, you then got those internal, something else that sort of, one of the definitions of what you might feel with imposter syndrome are feelings of inadequacy, incompetence, and fraudulence. And even, despite any success that you might have had. And I remember when I passed my degree, I did a Bachelor of Science in Maths. But because I'd struggled with one of the exams that we'd done, something had happened at home, and I wasn't really in a great mindset for that particular day. But I was in this exam, it's a 3-hour exam, and I did the first few questions, and then I got stuck on a question, and literally I just froze. I just couldn't think clearly. I muddled my way through the exam, and I thought, oh, that's it. I failed. Never mind that we had 5 exams to sit, and that was only just one of them. So when I got the results at the end and was told, yes, I've passed, do you know, for many years afterwards, I kept thinking, oh, there's going to be a letter coming through, or they're going to knock on the door and say, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. Really, I could not get it in my head that, yes, I had succeeded. Everything I had done was sufficient to achieve the success and the accolade of I've got a Bachelor of Science degree in maths. And I think it's something down to the fact that what I often tell my grandchildren, and I used to say to my students, you don't need 100% to pass. The percentage is lower than that to pass. So even if you have got some things wrong, it doesn't mean that you're not going to pass. But yeah, I remember for many years thinking, oh, they're going to catch up with me. This isn't right. I failed. They've made a mistake. So there's something there that you make it up for yourself. You see how you make up your own stories. Things happen and you make up a story and you really believe it to be true until you can sit down and take stock of what you're thinking and say, well, actually, is this the truth? Is this really the truth? And I think even now, I don't really ever acknowledge or put down, I see people put their letters after their name, and I'm thinking, oh, should I put mine? I never do. I never talk about it. But yes, I did succeed in getting a Bachelor of Science in Maths, and I know I just happened to mention it to one of my grandchildren the other day, and they're like, "Oh, did you?" And I said, "Yeah, I did actually." And that final exam, I was actually 8 months pregnant at the time as well. So, and all the lecturers were going, "You're not going to have it yet, are you? You're sure you're not going to have it yet?" But yeah, it's amazing what we can achieve and how we dismiss our success. So it's about looking at it, reframing it, and going, well, is this the truth? What actually is the truth? And actually own it. Own the success and share it. Oh, yeah, that was quite. It's just put those thoughts up. And I love what
It's
you said.
interesting.
Sorry, go on, Amanda.
No, go ahead.
Just
I
a
was
very
just
quick. I
giggling.
love what Nomsa was saying about. She was told, speak your truth unapologetically, because if you speak your truth, then it's your truth, and no one can actually argue with that. So Amanda.
I was just giggling to myself when you said you look at people who put the letters behind their name, and 90% of the time I don't. But if I send something that is like an important email to someone who I think has that kind of ego behind them, then I definitely do put them, because it's sad that we have to put things like that in order to be like, look, I have the qualifications to show you that this is not okay, or I have the qualifications to show that I know what I'm talking about in this case. And I was giggling to myself as you said that, because I've written a number of letters to the different levels of government in Canada right now with what's going on with COVID. And in those cases, I do put my 3 degrees behind my name, because I want them to know that I am a very educated citizen that is very concerned about the mandates that they are putting in Canada. And it is not a pandemic of the uneducated, because what's going on here in Canada is awful. And I put my letters behind my name to show that I am a very educated citizen that is very concerned about the illegality and the coercion and discrimination that's happening in Canada right now. And it is awful. And when I write letters like that, I make sure that I have my backing behind me. But I giggle to myself, because in most cases I don't ever put any of that to behind, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very I think sometimes when it is like this ego battle behind people, and I think lots of what's going on in Canada right now is such an ego battle between different specialists that are unwilling to listen to each other's side. And I really think the truth of what's going on is somewhere in the middle. It's on, there's this side and there's this side, and the truth of what's really going on is somewhere in the middle of what the truth is. And it's not one extreme or the other. It's definitely a balance of both sides. And that COVID is a real illness, but the extremeness of the mandates and the extremeness of some of the rules that are being imposed on us are not okay and unethical. And so I think that that's something that really needs to be said, and to have some backing behind, because even our premier has said, oh, this is only the uneducated people are unvaccinated. And I'm like, that is hate speech. That is not okay. And that is the sort of things that are going on in Canada right
They
now.
didn't just they didn't say that, Amanda, did they?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Uneducated. Wow.
It's propaganda, isn't it? It's to get everybody thinking.
There's actually
don't
an
know what they're talking about.
MP who was making a speech the other day, she was saying she's not going to be vaccinated. I think I have the video on WhatsApp. They are basically promoting that they're not going to be vaccinated. They work in the government, and it is their choice. They have a choice, and they are sticking by that choice. And they are saying it's because they feel that the research wasn't enough for them to produce the vaccine. So she's saying she's not going to be vaccinated. A choice, it hasn't got anything to do with the education. I think people like to label people. I've made a phone call the other day, just trying to find out about investment. I rang the South African bank here, and then they gave me the number in South Africa. So the bank that is here. So trying to talk to her like a normal person. Amanda, you say when you are approaching higher people, you always put your degree for them to see. Me, I hide my identity. I'm the other way around. So I'm speaking to this girl. I'm like, I'm looking for investment. I need to find out I need to find out about the investment process. How does it work and stuff? And the woman goes, we don't actually do the investment for normal like everybody would do for businesses. I said, I'm looking for information. So you can ask me, do you have a business or you don't? Then I answer the question. So she's judging me basically because of my color as well over the phone. So I said to her, I just want to find out the information how, if I want to invest money, what's the process? What do I need to have and stuff? She was like, as I explained, it's only for businesses. And I was like, I have a business. She actually put me off. I was like, okay, I'll call back. I didn't want to continue with her. So that's where you basically, like this woman, like the Canadian was saying, is uneducated people who don't want to have a vaccine. The choice, it has got nothing to do with you can meet somebody who has got degrees, but they don't know what to do with the degrees. But then you meet somebody who went to college, they're millionaires. So basically, it's the brain, it's the mind that works when it comes to all these making decisions and stuff. So and also Carol Annie was saying on the success, you have to decide not to be reduced by whatever is going on, and then on the success, you have to own whatever the path that you want to take. You have to own the success that I'm going to succeed and I'm going to walk with this path. Like Amanda, you are standing by what you believe in, that I don't want to have a vaccine, and you are willing to write letters from the government and actually expressing your feelings. So which is the right thing to do along the way, by writing those letters and not fighting anyone, just expressing your concern and stuff, because everybody wants to be listened, and along the way you will learn something out of it. So it is very, very important to actually to walk the path you want to basically. And sometimes what we were talking about this morning, there's a girl in the office. She's I think she's size 10. If I can look at her, she's skinny. But then we're having a conversation, and she goes, "Nomsa, come here." So then I go. She tells me she's got this measure, and she was like, "This belt, this is who I used to be." Now what now? She's showing me that she used to be 20 something kilos. She used to weigh 20 something, 26 or something kilos. So I was like, and then how did you end up like this? And she was like, that was 6 years ago. I had to do the diet. So she's explaining, here's me looking. I was like, you didn't have any surgery, nothing? And she was like, no, I didn't have any surgery. So she was doing something, sorting out her locker. Then she came across with it. So she was showing me. So I'm standing there. Yes, me. I'm like, okay. So then I was like, so tell me, how did you end up like this? Her story. She looks amazing, her story. So she was like, my GP, I walked into my GP one day, and my GP went, I'm worried about your weight. And she actually said, have you ever heard of this guy? He does the dieting at Cambridge University or something. So she said, she just took the leaflet from the doctor. She didn't say anything. She was like, okay, I will look into it. So she said, I looked into it and I contacted the guy, and then he came. We had a plan of the diet plan. She said that she went through the diet, and basically you can't eat anything. They do shopping for you for it's cost £50 a week, I think she said. So she said she focused on that, and she didn't have operation or anything. She looks amazing. So I was like, I would just think you were born like this if I didn't know your story. If you had honestly, if you had not told me your story, and I was like, your story is amazing. So she tells me about her friends, that her friends, they had to go and do the operation instead because they couldn't actually go through the natural diet. But she said it took her 6 months to actually do the diet, and that was 6 years ago, and she's managed to keep it the same. And I was like, that's amazing. It's really, she's on to her truth, and just believes that I need to do this natural. And she was like, the doctor just came out, because she said I kept getting ill, and the doctor just came out and said, I'm worried about your weight. Basically, here's the phone number. She was like, basically and then she said, I went back after 6 months. I had an appointment, and apparently the doctor comes into the waiting room, and he's calling the doctor. She's calling, and she said, I'm there, but the doctor couldn't recognize her because she's so skinny. She hadn't been back. And the doctor was like about to go to the reception to say, yeah, she turned up, but she's locked in, but she's not here. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm here. And then the doctor went, what happened to you? The doctor was really, really shocked. She was like, no, sir, I just decided I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to do it natural. And I did it. And this guy apparently, or the woman who were there, she was there or there the guy was there every step of the way. And she was like, I did it. But my friends were struggling, because I decided that I didn't want to be, when my doctor raised the concern, I didn't want to be the way I was. I wanted to change. And to me, that is an amazing story for somebody to be able to say, I'm going to stand for this and for what I believe in, and I'm going to go and get the result. So I hope you get the results that you're looking for, Amanda. So over to you guys.
It is about you make your mind up what it is you want to go for, and not let yourself be deterred.
Be distracted, yeah.
And recognize when these feelings come up. Because I mean, as Maya Angelou says, I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody and they're going to find me out. So it's something that happens, but the key is not to let it take over your life. These thoughts come, and it's then about being able to let them go. Work with them, recognize that, they're not the actual truth. Let it go. Look at your success. And recognize maybe what pattern you're running. Because there's certain patterns that they've noticed that people who experience imposter syndrome have. And there's perfectionists, people who set really high expectations. And so, they're setting themselves that standard that perhaps is just really too high to get to. So there's perfectionists, experts who actually need to know everything, need to know every bit of information. And perhaps, I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I haven't learned enough. And so there's that type of pattern that you might be running. Maybe there's a natural genius who actually is beginning to struggle and has never known struggle before, but then succeeds. And it's like, well, really? How can that happen? That doesn't normally happen for me. So can it be right? So maybe they start to question, is this just luck, or is it, because of my talent or my skill? And then there's people who actually have to accomplish it on their own. And so therefore, if they haven't accomplished it on their own, again, it sets up that question, well, did I really succeed? So again, am I an imposter? Is this really, am I competent enough? So those questions, it's those self-doubts about what you've succeeded in. Are they true? Are they right? Are they valid? And then there's people who push themselves. It's like the supermen and the superwomen. They need to succeed in all aspects of life. And if they haven't succeeded everywhere, then it's like they haven't succeeded. So are you running at any one of those patterns maybe? So just have a look at which pattern you might be running as to where those self-doubts are coming from. And that's something, again, it's going to that deeper level. It's looking at what is running it. As I say, it's just sort of leaning into the truth of what's here. And sometimes it's being comfortable with saying, I don't know. Let me look at that. Because sometimes you might feel that you have to have all the answers. You can't know all the answers. And I know it's something I had to get and deal with when I was teaching. It's okay to turn around and say, well, sorry, I can't answer that question right now. Let me get back to you. And it's something I've had to relearn in the field I'm now in, because there's an element of, again, creeping in. Well, I should know. They're asking me this question. I don't know the answer. Why not? I should do. Excuse me? Pack it in. This should. When that word creeps in, that's a flag. That's a red flag. Stop and go, no. If you don't know, you can find out. Or you can find someone that does know. So again, it's looking at it. Lean into the truth and work with that and be happy to say, well, right now I can't answer your question. I don't know. Let me look into it. Because that brings authenticity into it. And people will feel the authenticness there. If you try and cover it up and give an answer, you're being inauthentic. And people will smell that and they'll go. Whereas if you're being true to yourself and you're being honest and open, then that's what people will feel. And they won't get a sense of any imposter syndrome from you, any sense of inadequacy or incompetence, or that you're being fraudulent in any way. So again, it's just what's going on up here. Change that mindset, change those thoughts, but also recognize you're not alone. Recognize that quote that I gave you from Maya Angelou. I saw many other famous people saying exactly the same. It happens to everybody. And I know sometimes that doesn't help, because I know it doesn't help me. It's like, oh, okay, so everybody gets it. How does that help me? Well, just know that you're not alone. And then go from there. Take comfort in it. It's not a case of just saying, okay, I'm not alone, end of. It's just a recognition that you're not alone. And share that self-doubt with somebody else. Share what's going on so you can talk about it and work through it. what are you hearing in that, Amanda, or what else is there you'd like to add to this?
I've heard a lot of things. I think that some of it comes from both of your guys' comments on people feeling like they can't do something until they've achieved something else, or that they are imposters until they get to a certain point. And I think sometimes we focus so much on certain intelligences in schools, and so then the people who have gifts in other areas that aren't as academic sometimes feel as though they're a failure. And that is something that, as a teacher, I hope that I can help people find that there are so many different ways to be successful and to show your intelligence that aren't in the narrow, strict ways that are evaluated in schools. And I know people who only graduated high school and are very successful business owners and millionaires, and they didn't ever take any post-secondary school. And I think that's something that we really need to recognize, is that people have their own unique intelligences and their own unique gifts. And some of the people that I know who never went past high school and are very successful business owners, they would have failed in university because university and college just wasn't for them. And they weren't set up that they're not set up for the type of people that learn the way that they do. And they learn in a different way and have become very, very successful. I'm like sometimes jealous not like of their success for not having to spend money going to university and then becoming so successful. But they are successful in their own way. And I think that's something that's so empowering, is to see people from all different walks of life being successful because they've followed their own path and not what society says you have to do. Because if those people had said, oh, I can only start a business if I go and get a business degree, they would not be nearly as successful as they are today. And I think that's something that's really important. And I know people who be like, oh, I never finished my degree and I'm not successful because I didn't finish my degree. And I'm like, you have achieved way more than you would have. And you would have gone, because you've had to work extra hard just to like show what you bring to the table, because you don't have these letters behind your name that people look for. You have to show in your work and in your successes that even without those letters behind your name, you can be very, very successful. And I think that that's something that that brings on that feeling of being an imposter. Is like, oh, I'm a business owner, but I don't have a business degree. And that's something that I think we need to like wipe away and be like, okay, I am successful and I took this path, and this path is what has led me to where I need to be at this moment in time. And more and more people need to accept that sometimes we can't all follow that traditional narrow path that is instilled in us. And I think sometimes if we're not following that traditional narrow path, that there's a feeling of being unsuccessful, or I didn't do what I was supposed to do, when really you are truly doing what you're meant to do, as long as you are taking steps towards your goals. And I think that's something that's really important and empowering for people, is to be able to look at their own intelligences, because there's so many different intelligences. Like the multiple intelligence scale says there's musical and kinesthetic and interpersonal, linguistic, mathematical, naturalistic, intrapersonal, and visual. And sometimes I think those people who are intrapersonal, because I'm not a super social person, so all those kids in my class that have the gift of the gab and fly by the class on their C's, there are like just passing classes, like whatever, I've got this. Those kids I'm sometimes jealous of, because they've got the gift of the gab, and if they can be successful in social situations, then they have so much more power than somebody who can just research from a textbook and regurgitate answers, because they understand people, and understanding people is so much more powerful than being able to answer questions on a test. And I think that's something that we really need to start valuing. Those kids that have the notes that's like, they enjoy the social aspects of school. If you're that parent, you should be like, yes, my kid has social skills, and that is so important. Because and it's not something that's valued as much in schools on the traditional report cards, but I think that's something that's super important, because if you have social skills, you have the ability to work with so many different people, and that's so much more important than being able to memorize facts, especially in today's day and age where you can just access the answers to so many questions with a quick Google search. So I think our view of what it means to be successful is really changing, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that we are encouraging more people to take their own path, and to be able to not just be like, okay, I got out of school and now I'm going to do this job and that's my job for the rest of my life. People start many different careers now, and I think that's a really great thing, because we're really truly finding out who we are and what we can be successful at, not just staying in one area because we're scared of not being of the unknown. And I think empowering yourself to be like, okay, I can step into this unknown and trust that as long as I'm doing my work, I will achieve something or learn something, and that's really important. And you're not an imposter if you are taking steps into something that you're terrified to try. You are taking the first steps on a journey to learning.
As you were talking, what reminded me of people that have left school without qualifications and have still succeeded, and very often there is ways of getting qualifications that you need for the job that you go into. And I know my ex-husband, he left school without any qualifications. When I met him, I think in the space of a few years, he'd had about 11 different jobs, but he was really great with singing and with music. He loved music. But he then joined the police force. And as tough as it was for him to stick with that and with the discipline that was there, he did. And I helped him to get and pass his sergeant's exams and his inspector's exams, which meant he was then able to become an inspector. So he did achieve rank within, the job that he was in, and he served for 30 years, and did was in various departments. I think the only department he didn't actually go into or section of was the dog handling one, because you need to have a dog, and that's a longer term commitment. And I think that was one he would have liked to, but somehow it didn't happen. But he'd been in quite a lot of the other departments over the years, but he did manage to succeed in achieving promotion within his job. So it is possible. And there's a word that's eluding me, actually, that is on the tip of my tongue. They talk about something that you need to have if you want. That's it. Being resourceful. All of a sudden it popped in my head and out on my tongue. Actually, the best skill you can have is about being resourceful. Because in any moment when you're a bit stuck, it's how resourceful can you be about getting out of that and moving forwards. So that's not an academic qualification. Being resourceful is a huge skill to have. It's a tremendous skill to have. And not many people actually acquire that or develop it. And it is something I know that over the years I've thought about. How can I be more resourceful? And so think on when you think you're not succeeding. It's like, well, in what ways have I succeeded? Actually create a journal, write down all your successes, acknowledge them, embrace them. And then if you still don't feel that there's something that's not sitting right, say, well, what is it that isn't quite feeling right here? What is it that I haven't succeeded in that I feel I need to succeed in? And remember, it's what you feel you need to succeed in. It might not necessarily be the truth, but for you, it's the truth. And acknowledge it and say, well, okay, how can I accomplish that? How can I achieve that? And move forward with that. So, it's not about beating yourself up and keep making yourself wrong. Work with it, dance with it, and just play with it. So there's always ways that we can succeed, but we have to see it for ourselves. And it is within our own frame of mind. It's in our own frame of reference. And I think there's something about, yes, people will criticize you, but it's about valuing the criticism as constructive criticism. Because Clinton Swain, I love what he says, feedback is the breakfast of champions. And so take anything that comes as feedback. It's only feedback. It's someone else's thoughts. It's their ideas. You just say thank you and take it as feedback. And then say, okay, so how can I use this to grow? I can either take it on board, do something with it, or put it to one side and say, no, that doesn't apply. But I do love that. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. So make use of that. So you're nodding.
I agree with that, Carol, on feedback and authenticity. You mentioned authenticity earlier, that you have to, if you don't know anything, let go of I should, and just keep it authentic. It's okay to go back and say I need to go and check if you're not sure. And Amanda, you said look at your own intelligence. There is no other way. If you don't know what you're capable of, you can't do anything, because you have to look at your intelligence and believe in yourself. I didn't go to uni when I was at home. I basically finished my studies when I was in the UK. I left home when I was very, very young, because I believed in what Amanda was saying. Look at your own intelligence. And my father is a teacher. You can't go wrong if you're friends with a teacher. Honestly, my father was a teacher. He made me basically look into my own intelligence, the things that I was capable of doing. And when I came here, my family was scared. Some of my family was scared because I was young, and they didn't think that, because when you come here, you buy a ticket, you lose money, you can be deported straight away. So they had all these things in their ideas that basically I'm not gonna get in. And I stopped talking, and I was like, I'm going, and there's no need for me to say goodbye to people, because I believed that it was the decision that I have made, and I was going to enter United Kingdom, because when you make a decision, you have to stick to it, and you have to believe in whatever you believe. If you don't know anything, you ask questions. And I think that is more important. Just dig deep until you understand whatever you're doing. Like I am a matchmaker. It doesn't mean that I have to know everything. I don't. There's some things that sometimes I think I know this, Then I go online on YouTube and then I hear somebody else, a coach, a relationship coach, and they're talking. And I'm like, oh, I've never think of this way. So we are basically learning each and every single day. Learning, we just have to believe our own authenticity, our own intelligence, and what we are capable of. And that's life. If you don't doubt yourself, no one will doubt you. Sometimes I make a decision that I'm gonna do this, even when I'm scared. I just go for it because that's what life is about. Any words of encouragement, Carol Ann, you want to leave with our audience?
Yes, just there's one thing that we did put on the questions there is imposter syndrome a mental illness?
Oh,
It's
yes,
not
yes.
classified as one. It isn't classified as one. So be rest assured, if you've got imposter syndrome, it's not classed as a mental illness. But something that Eleanor Roosevelt said, you wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realized how seldom they do. Because everybody's in their own worries and doubts. So
Yep.
learn to not let doubt control your actions. Have imposter moments, but not an imposter life. So enjoy life, welcome the imposter moments, and then let them go. Deal with them. Okay, and if you can't or you don't know how, reach out. We're here. We can support you. Reach out. What about you, Amanda? What have you got to say? What's your...
I liked how you said they let go of the imposter moments, because I think everybody at some point in their life feels like they might be an imposter in a certain situation. Like even if you really love a sport or you're starting a new sport, that could be like if you want to start playing soccer or I guess football and you're in the UK. I never really felt like a soccer player until I played for a really long time, and it's because I didn't start it as a child. I started it when I was in my later teens because it wasn't as popular here, and now it's quite popular, but I never really felt like a soccer player until until I've been like, oh, I've been playing since I was 16 and now I'm 40. But before I'd never felt like a soccer player because I felt like if I didn't start it when I was 6, like everybody else, then I wasn't actually a soccer player. And I think that's something that we just need to let go of and be like, it doesn't matter, even if it's in something as simple as a sport that you like to just go out and play. If you want to be a dancer, go and dance, right? Enjoy, dance in the rain even. That, yeah, we just need to let go of those things that are self-doubt, because I really think that imposter syndrome is deeply rooted in in our own self-doubt.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amanda. I have a post that says confidence comes from feelings of well-being, acceptance of self plus belief in your ability, skills plus experience. So basically you have to basically you have to believe in everything that you do. You have to basically practice and believe in it. And people, if you believe in something, people believe in it as well. So thank you so much for those who are watching. If you're watching this talk show later, please press some heart button and share some love with your loved ones and friends. And like Carol Ann said, please reach out. We are here for you. If you want to speak to somebody, we are here for you, and you can get in touch through the page. And live with grace, everyone, and God bless you.